Our film is Tattoo Generation, and it's a documentary. For this we had to research a couple of films and the codes and conventions of making a documentary. So the first code and convention is narration. This is where you do a voiceover over the top of what somebody's seeing in a clear, distinctive voice.
We are an ever-changing culture, a new generation thinking in different ways.
Secondly, another convention is real footage. This is where it's something that you've actually shot yourself and it's from a place where your documentary is based around. It's not something that was like fictionally made up like it would be in a film. Another is archive footage. So footage that's not actually ours, something that we take off the internet or we get from somebody we commission or something like that. We use this through a catwalk, something that we couldn't really go find and get, and then old film from London from the 1920s.
We're exposed to the latest glamour model.
The classic thing from documentaries is interview excerpts, which are used to provide an opinion of somebody who knows something about the field that you're covering in the documentary. We use non-diegetic sound to create an ambience and an atmosphere throughout of the documentary, and we also cut it off at the interview point to make more of an impact with what was being said. And lastly, visual coding. This means mise-en-scène, or showing what you're actually talking about in a narration. The mise-en-scène creates the whole scene and helps to add to the narrative of what you're trying to show. So for us, this was something like a tattoo parlour being in the background of an interview with a tattoo artist. These codes and conventions are commonly used in documentaries, and we decided to keep them in mind when we were filming and planning. We also looked at two films, McCullen and Ed Hardy Tattoo the World. These two documentaries are different, but they're both documentaries, so we could use them to gain research and ideas about how to pull off making a documentary. So through McCullen, we gained the idea of using music to build tension in what you're trying to show, and then also the order of the titles that we're going to be showing in our opening sequence. Ed Hardy gave us an idea of real footage that is used in documentaries, archive footage, interview excerpts with the angles and the shots that we're going to be trying to get, as well as a way of showing the story in a cinematic way. So it's not all just the same shots, like mid-shots and close-ups of people's faces when they're talking. It's lots of cutaways and things that we were going to use in our documentary. And now to show where we use these codes and conventions and research into documentaries, I'm going to go through 9 shots, key shots in our opening sequence that show these. So number 1, the music starts whilst on a blank screen before any visuals, so tension is being built. The music is easy to listen to and works very well in the background. Number 2, the narration begins at this point with the first few shots of our real footage. Number 3, then going into archive footage of old films and catwalk shots used to display our narration points. Number 4, back to real footage. We filmed all over to get different shots that were displaying the narrative of the documentary. Number 5, we used visual coding with what the viewer is seeing and what they are hearing. Like when we were talking about artists and creative thinking, we showed some art being painted and paint being mixed. Number 6, we dropped the complete narrative after Enigma was created, showing what the main question of the documentary was about, but still not completely being truthful in what the whole documentary was about. So we talked about expression, where it's actually about expression through tattoos. So this was creating Enigma. Number 7, the cinematic shots of the tattoo parlour. Using this mise-en-scène added more to the enigma and the narrative by the viewer maybe putting the pieces together that the doc is maybe about expression through tattoos. Number 8, the simple title coming up like most small documentaries have in the past. Number 9, lastly, the interview excerpt of a tattoo artist that we interviewed, along with its cutaway shots that kept interest in the interview by displaying different visuals to the watcher, as seen in Ed Hardy Tattoo the World. Through using these conventions, I feel like we hit the criteria of making a documentary like any other. Using these classic traits made it easily recognisable as a documentary and made it feel professional in the outcome, especially with the good quality image that we got from using my DSLR that I'm filming this on. As Enigma was part of the criteria, we needed it. So we created it through not saying the word tattoo specifically throughout the whole documentary until the interviews, but linking to culture and expressing yourself throughout to build the enigma. And then when we were in the tattoo parlour, the mise-en-scène helped to blend all of this stuff together with expression, culture and tattoos to get the idea of the documentary that is expressing through tattoos. Commonly documentaries would not do this, so through ours I feel like we blended cinematic film and documentaries together by creating enigma with cinematic shots and narration, which is a documentary trait. Commonly documentaries would not do this, so through ours I feel like it is a blend of a cinematic film and a documentary.